What's up, family? Man, I want to have a heart-to-heart with you guys today. Man, this is going to be kind of rough, kind of deep. You know what I mean? Stay with me. We're going to go somewhere. And years ago, I was in the Air Force. I was stationed in Guam, and I was bodybuilding. And I got up to like 230 some pounds, solid muscle, less than 8% body fat. I was doing my thing, you know what I mean? I was doing my thing. And the crazy part of it is, man, as big as I was, as strong as I was, when I saw myself in the mirror, I didn't look that big to me. Stay with me, I promise you, we're going somewhere today. I didn't look that big to me. Solid muscle, but I didn't think I was that big. All these other people saw how much weight I was putting up, saw my physique, saw how big I was, how muscular I was, but I couldn't see it. I'm looking in the mirror, but I didn't look that big to me. The bigger I got, the smaller I felt. And it seemed as though I had to go harder. I had to lift weights harder. I was working out 2 to 3 times a day hard. Because in my mind, I was convinced I wasn't big enough. In my mind, I wasn't as big as people were making it out to be. I knew young ladies, young women that were skinny. I mean, like anorexic skinny. Beautiful. But to them, when they looked in the mirror, when they saw themselves, they weren't skinny. Regardless of what people said to them, people would tell them all the time, man, you're so thin and da-da-da. But in their mind, they were too big. When they saw themselves, they were too big. And they would throw up whatever, they would force themselves to throw up whatever they ate. They would starve themselves because in their mind, they were too big. Here it is, the complete opposite. I'm big. But no matter how much I saw myself, I wasn't big enough. No matter what I saw, I wasn't big. I felt little. I saw myself as little. I'm eating all this protein, doing all this extra stuff. Why? Because I'm trying to gain weight. I'm trying to gain muscle mass so that I could get bigger. Because I wasn't big enough. I saw how much I weighed. And even though I saw my weight on the scale, when I saw myself, I was little. Why am I talking about that? Because we've been twisted. Stay with me, we're going somewhere. We all have been twisted. We all have been fucked over mentally. The problem is the great majority of us don't understand the depths to which we've been fucked over. The great majority of us, we don't understand the magnitude to how much we've been twisted. See, it's easy for the great majority of us to sit back and look at anorexic women and say, oh, they got psychological issues and they're twisted and da-da-da. It's easy for us as people to sit back and look at people with bulimia and all these other things and sit back and say, oh, they got issues and da-da-da-da-da-da. It's easy for us to sit back and look at people that have schizophrenia and all these other things. Oh, they got issues and what do we do? It's easy for us to sit back and look at other people and talk about how twisted they are. Never understanding the depths of our own twist. Never understanding the depths of our own twisted psychology, our twisted mind. You can convince yourself anything you want to. I promise you, I'm going somewhere today. And it's going to be rough for some of you to swallow this shit. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. We got to grow the fuck up. You can convince yourself of anything you want to. Scientifically proven. You could take some sugar pills. You could take these pills that have no medicinal benefits to them whatsoever. You could go to get them from a doctor, and a doctor could tell you, yeah, this is medicine, and we'll do it, and they're completely useless, completely powerless. But you believe it's medicine. You believe it's high potent medicine. You believe it's extra strict medicine. And you convince yourself whatever your ailment was is getting better. Whatever your ailment was is fixed, is healed because you took this high potent medicine. You believe that this medicine healed you. You believe that this medicine made you better. Look up placebo effect. That's what we're talking about, the placebo effect. It's when you take these sugar pills, these useless pills, and you convince that they're medicine, you convince that it's helping you get better. But it's useless. But your brain has convinced your body that these pills are making you better. Therefore, your body reacts not to the pills, but to the brain. Catch that. Your brain has convinced your body you're taking extra strength medication. Your brain has convinced your body that you're taking some medicine that's making you feel better, that's making your headache go away, making your backache go away, making your cramps go away, making your nausea go away. Whatever your ailment is, your brain has convinced your body that this useless pill is actually helping you. Oh, we're going there today. We're going there. This is going to be rough. This is going to be rough. We're twisted. Again, you can convince yourself anything you want to. You could be a pencil small and convince yourself that you're fat. I was huge, muscular-wise, but I was convinced that I was small. I was convinced that I wasn't big enough. I was convinced that I wasn't near as big as everybody was hyping me up to be. I didn't see what they saw. I could stand next to people and I could see that my body was bigger than theirs, but I was convinced that they were just extra skinny. I couldn't convince myself that I had big, bulky muscles. I couldn't convince myself that I was big. I convinced myself that I was little. You can convince you can convince yourself of anything. Yeah, you can. You can convince yourself, and again, World War II, Japanese bombers running out of fuel. They were convinced that if they dive bombed into the enemy, if they crashed their plane, committed suicide, crashing their plane into the enemy, into American ships, into American planes, that they would be in paradise. That they would go to paradise. For committing suicide and for taking out the enemy. That would put them in paradise. There are some religious groups that are convinced that, man, if they strap bombs to themselves and go and kill the enemy, that they too will be in paradise. You can convince yourself of any motherfucking thing you want to. Stay with me, I'm going somewhere. You can convince yourself that the Democrats are ruining the country. You can convince yourself that the conservatives or the Republicans are ruining the country. There was a time in America, not too far gone, where Christian religious fanatics, Christian right-wingers, would go into abortion clinics because abortion was wrong, according to the Bible. Murdering babies was wrong. And these people convinced themselves that if they blew up the abortion clinic and these nurses and these people that work there, the administrative people and these doctors that work there, if these people were killed, they were justified in their killing of these people. They were justified in killing these doctors. They were justified in killing these nurses. They were justified in killing these administrative people that went there or worked there. They were justified in killing these people that were seeking abortion, because they convinced themselves that they were right. You could convince yourself of anything. Hitler convinced himself Hitler was part Jew. Hitler's mother was a Jewish woman. But Hitler convinced himself and his country that the Jews were killing and destroying their country. Hitler was Jewish, but he was convinced that all the Jews had to be killed. Hitler was Jewish. Hitler was convinced that he was doing the work of God. Hitler talked about God a number of times. Hitler was convinced that God wanted him to kill the Jews. Hitler was convinced that God wanted him to do away with all of the Jews that he did. He was convinced of that. Americans, when they came over to this country, Caucasians, when they came to this country, because they weren't American, were convinced that the Native Americans were savages and beasts. Matter of fact, in this Constitution, the Native Americans weren't even considered full humans. They were described as savages. Black people was described as 3/5 human. You can convince yourself of anything. We convince ourselves that we're not lovable. We convince ourselves we're not worthy of love. We convince ourselves that we'll always be broke. We'll always live paycheck to paycheck. We've convinced ourselves that we're going to be lonely the rest of our life. We've convinced ourselves we'll never find our true love. What have you convinced yourself of? That's not helping you reach your full potential. I know white people that are convinced that they're too white. I know black people that are convinced that they're too dark. I had a friend whose mom will make him take baths and soak in bleach. Real shit. Because she was convinced he was too dark. This guy fell in love and married a white woman. Not knocking that. But he didn't want to date a black woman because he didn't want his daughter or his kids to come out black like him. He didn't want his kids to come out dark like him. So he wanted a white woman so that his kids would come out light skinned. We can convince ourselves of anything. Yeah, we can. We could dog somebody the fuck out and then convince ourselves and everybody else that we're the fucking victim. Shit happens every motherfucking day. Motherfucker did you wrong. But then they want to get on the phone with everybody that'll listen to them and convince them that they were the victim. They ruined your life or tried to ruin your life. But now they want to play victim. And nothing you say can convince them that they're wrong. Because they convinced themselves that that person was wrong. And that they're the victim. What do you convince yourself of? And here's the trip. Many of us say that we're chosen. Let me say it again. Many of us say that we're chosen. We're star seeds. We're rainbow warriors. We're light workers and healers and all these other things. We've given ourselves titles. But we don't live like that. Because the truth is, we really don't believe that. We really don't believe that we're chosen one. We say we're chosen, but we really don't believe it. We say we're chosen. We say we're all these other different things. But we're miserable. We're saying we're chosen, we're all these things, but we have no joy. We have no peace. We have no happiness. There's nothing about our life that's reflective of being a light worker. There's nothing about our life that's reflective of being a role model or a mentor. To a darkened world. To a world that's hopeless. To a world that's given up. To a world that has no peace, has no joy. To a world that don't truly understand love. How can you be a beacon of hope, a beacon of love, a beacon of light, and nothing about you represent that? But you say it. But the truth is, you're convinced, and you've convinced yourself that you're really everything but that. And then you justify your mediocre and miserable life as being that. I'm a chosen one, and that's why I'm going through all the hell that I'm going through. I'm a chosen one, and that's why I'm the black sheep. I'm a chosen one. I'm a star seed. I'm a light worker, and that's why people don't like me, and that's why people don't love me, and that's why I'm so lonely. No, you're lonely because you're fucking lonely, because you convinced yourself that you belong to, that you're gonna be lonely. You're miserable because you convinced yourself that you're fucking miserable. You're miserable because you have a fucked up perspective of life. You are not living like a chosen one. You are not living like a beacon of hope, a beacon of love. You are not living like a star seed. You're living like a fucking victim. Because your perspective is fucked up. But we don't want to be honest with ourselves. So we justify our fucked up life. And we blame everybody else for our fucked up life. And we get all these ignorant ass motherfuckers on YouTube and everywhere else. They're chosen ones. Why chosen ones are lonely? Why chosen ones are this? Why chosen ones can't work a 9 to 5? Why chosen ones are da. I'm like, shut the fuck up with that stupid shit. Oh, we going there today. We going there because we gotta grow the fuck up. We've got to grow the fuck up. And call a spade a motherfucking spade. If you're fucking miserable, just call it as what it is. You're miserable. You're lonely. You're frustrated. Why? Because your perspective of life is fucked up. It's twisted. It's twisted. And I don't give a damn how many people you convince that chosen ones have to be lonely. That chosen ones can't work a 9 to 5. That chosen ones, you can convince as many motherfuckers you want to with that bullshit. Don't mean that is right. Yeah. This is real shit right here. The great majority of white folk were convinced that black folk wasn't shit. The great majority of white folk was convinced that black folk couldn't think. Black folk couldn't be intelligent because they were convinced of that, because they were programmed to believe that bullshit. And so we justified slavery. We justified dogging out the black people here in America because white folk was convinced that they were better and smarter. When we gonna grow the fuck up and be real? When we gonna grow the fuck up and be honest about shit? You can convince yourself anything you want to. The truth is, we've been damaged. We've been twisted. Twisted emotionally. Twisted psychologically. Twisted intellectually. Twisted spiritually. Most Americans are convinced drinking milk, cow's milk, is good for you. Let me say it again. Most Americans are convinced that drinking cow's milk is good for you. That's not even fucking logical. That shows you how fucking twisted and psychotic as a people we have become. Cow's milk is not fucking good for you. I don't give a fuck what the programming say. I don't give a fuck what these quote unquote experts say, these quote unquote doctors say. Cow's milk ain't good for you. Grow the fuck up. But we can convince ourselves of anything. As little kids, we were getting brand new shoes whenever we did. And I've seen other little kids do it too. And they were convinced that these certain shoes made them jump higher. These certain shoes made them run faster. You can convince yourself of any motherfucking thing you want to. And the great majority of us have been convinced, we are convinced, that we're powerless. We're powerless. We're powerless to change our life. We're powerless to change our community. We're powerless to change our nation. We're powerless to change the world. The great majority of us are convinced of that stupid ass bullshit. So we just accept anything and everything. Because we believe we don't have the power to change our life. Because we don't believe we have the power to expect and have a peaceful, loving life full of joy. We don't believe that we deserve that. We don't believe that we can have that. We've convinced ourselves, I gotta work hard for the rest of my life. I gotta slave for the rest of my life just to be able to do anything. Because we bought into the bullshit. We bought into the fucking programming. You can have the love of your life. You can have all the joy, all the peace that you want. You can experience the abundance of life if you want to. If you're willing to put in the work to change your motherfucking perspective. You gotta change your perspective. You gotta change the way you see shit. You'll never change your life until you first change your perspective. You'll never change your circumstances until you first change your perspective. Your twisted perspective. Your fucked up perspective. You have to change your perspective. And when you change your perspective, you change your frequency. When you change your frequency, you change your vibration. When you change your vibration, you change your motherfucking life. Catch that. It has to start with you changing your perspective. Then you change your frequency. You change your vibration. Then you change your frequency. Then you change your life. See, we've had it backwards. We think we could just change our perspective. Not just, we think we could just change our frequency and change our life. And keep that old fucked up thought process. I could just manifest a brand new car. I can manifest a king, a queen, a boo. I can manifest money and wealth beyond my wildest dreams and joy. I can manifest all this. You can't manifest shit until you change your motherfucking perspective, until you change your motherfucking vibration, until you change your motherfucking frequency. That's how you manifest. By by changing your perspective, changing your vibration, changing your frequency. We gotta grow the fuck up. Man, hope and pray that I said something to encourage you, to inspire you, to even challenge your way of thinking. I love you guys. Happy healing. Peace.